It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans, and I am your host. Glad to be here, however long or short that period may be. With what we see happening in our nation right now with censorship, I don't expect that that'll be a whole lot longer, but we're going to continue to press on until we don't have an alternative. You know, we're going to cover 4 topics this morning, and I want to touch base with you. You know, part of our goal is to dispel the propaganda that is fostered and pumped into Americans' eyes and ears every single day. And one of the phrases that we use is delivering truth and exposing mainstream propaganda. And the reason we say that is because I have personally decided a long time ago that I will not stand by and allow the misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda to be promulgated on Americans, where our press is manipulating us. We are being played like fools. So we're going to talk about 4 topics this morning that address that. The first issue is Common Core. Today, if you don't know, and if you haven't sent your kid to school yet, stop right now. Don't let your kid go. We're going to cover the Don't Send Your Kid to School Day, or Don't Send Your Kid to School Today Day. And essentially, we're asking parents across the nation to protest Common Core and its implementation. And I'll tell you why when we hit the Common Core topic in a minute or two. The truth of the matter is, if you knew what Common Core really was all about, you would be outraged and you would be demanding the head of your school people, your National Department of Education, and the monsters who are behind all of this, their heads on a stick. The truth is, Common Core is dangerous for America. It is propaganda personified, and it's being pumped into the minds of your children right now. Not to mention, it's the number one abuse of data and abuse of power, frankly, to gather data on your children. They're building massive databases on your children. Everything that they do, everything they touch, their retinal scans, their fingerprints. I'm telling you, folks, if you think the NSA and what they're doing to you as an adult is bad, wait until you find out what Common Core has in store for you. I got to tell you, this is beyond the scope of anything that most parents even understand or conceive of. And I have to tell you, because we're older and we went to school at an earlier period in time when our nation wasn't quite so determined to destroy us, we're not accustomed to and willing to grasp and put our arms around the depth of the depravity of this system. But I've got to tell you something. If you do not wake up soon, Common Core will be implemented across the nation, and you will be subjected to it, and your children will be subjected to it for generations to come. This is an experiment that is on a par with Mengelé's medical experiments on children, except they're experimenting with your child's mind. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is unacceptable, and it is a betrayal of everything that your nation and your government is supposed to represent to you. Our second topic is going to be, who among us will heed the call? I recently wrote a piece, and I posted it up on our website this morning, or I will in a little bit. I posted it on our Facebook page over the weekend, and I'm going to read it because I think it personifies where we stand. And if you want to understand what a constitutional, conservative, patriotic American believes, I think this sums it up. Our third topic is going to be Bloomberg and how he has abdicated truth for treason against our or in favor of our sworn enemy, China. Sworn enemy is right. And it is time we started treating China like the enemy that they are. They are a sworn enemy. They are a communist country. They subvert and censor their news constantly. They are working against the United States of America every single day, diplomatically, politically, professionally, economically, financially. Every aspect of our international relationship with China supersedes our Constitution and the rights of our government to interface with that nation against your best interest. They are working against your best interest in common with an enemy of the state. Telling you folks, stop letting these idiots in the propagandic these news organizations tell you that China is our friend. They're the second largest economy, shortly to be the first, and they are doing anything and everything in their power to undermine your nation. And it is time we began to treat them like the enemy that they are. I'm telling you, if you do not recognize it shortly, you will awaken one morning to find that the nation that your founders and your ancestors fought for has been sold and given away to an enemy by your leadership. Our fourth topic is Americans must stand in defense of our nation. I'm going to wrap this program today with some examples of where that comes from and why I'm saying that. We are so far down the rabbit hole of tyranny, treason, terror that is being promulgated on you by your own government. I know this sounds harsh. I know that this sounds like I am a voice in the wilderness, and I am. I'm Paul Revere, riding through the community, shouting from the housetops, awaken. The enemy is here. The barbarians are not at the gates. They are through the gates. They are eating your children. They are raping and pillaging your land. I've had some people say to me, you know what? Sometimes you're too intense, and I just got to shut it off. I get it. But guess what? The time for sitting by and allowing others to make your decisions is over, ladies and gentlemen. Where we stand today is so far gone, so far outside the scope of what we can and should be willing to accept, that it is beyond comprehension that we allow this to continue in our nation. I don't care how apathetic you have become. I don't care how many antidepressants you're taking. I don't care how far you've been compromised by EBT or welfare or Medicare, Medicaid. It's time you stood up and said, I am willing, I am demanding that my nation do the right thing, even when it's against my own best immediate interest, because my check will stop or my food stamps will be cut. Or I'm telling you, you're going to lose it all anyway. And when that day comes, what are you going to say then? We should have done something. We coulda, woulda, shoulda. Action now is the solution. What is that? What form does that action take? We're going to talk about that in our fourth segment. How Americans must stand in defense of our nation. Because I'm telling you that unless we commit massive, peaceful, civil acts of disobedience, we are done as a nation. You may as well just crawl into your hole and wait for them to come and lock you up into the chains. I'm so frustrated about it because I feel like I am sitting here talking, and I see the number of people that catch this show, and I say to myself, where are our leaders? Where are these people who are allegedly the kings of talk radio? Instead of sitting there demanding a solution, they sit there and just pontificate while they sell their crap. We don't sell a thing here except truth, and it's free. You know what the cost is? You got to listen for 2 hours. Common Core. Let's get into our first topic. I've got 20 minutes to beat this thing to death. Let me tell you something about Common Core and what's really going on. If you have not kept your child home from school today, do so. If your child has already left for school, go down, submit a request through the principal's office and get your kid out of school. And then make sure that you are expressing whether you've kept them home for school or you are sending them, you are going to go get them from school. Express why you are taking your child out. And the reason you're taking your child out is because you are in protest of Common Core. This is a national protest today, and I'm telling you right now, you will not hear the media talk about it because they don't want to. They've been sold, coerced, compromised, and they have been co-opted. Nobody talks about it. Well, let me tell you why. Even Fox News, the people who run Fox News, Murdoch and Roger Ailes, sit on boards that participate in Common Core. So you're not going to hear it about from them. You're not going to hear about it from MSLSD because they're so deep down into the rabbit hole of treason, they'll never tell you what the truth is, and they support and propagandize on behalf of it. ABC, CBS, NBC, Communist News Network, all of them. You're not going to hear about newspapers talking about it unless it's alternative media. The New American has articles out about it all the time. MissouriansAgainstCommonCore.com. Go find some of these websites and educate yourself about what is being done to your child. Your kid is being walked down the lane of brainwashing. This is nothing less than that, ladies and gentlemen. There's a bunch of websites out. Go out to whatiscommoncore.wordpress.com. Whatiscommoncore.wordpress.com. Go out to Missouri Coalition Against Common Core. It's M-O, against commoncore.com. Go to the New American. Educators expose the dangers of Common Core's national education program. Go to FreedomWorks, the battle against Common Core standards. There is tons and myriad of information out there that you're not paying attention to because you're lazy or you're apathetic, and your child is suffering as a result of it. If you say, well, I've heard this thing about Common Core, but I don't know anything about it, stop right there. That's your fault because the information is available and you have refused, abdicated your responsibility to your child. I don't care if you don't like it that I'm yelling at you. The truth of the matter is somebody oughta. You are abdicating your responsibility as a parent. You are allowing the state to take control of your child and beat and brainwash them into submission. And you should be ashamed of yourself because the information is available. It is everywhere. Type in Common Core. Type in danger of Common Core. You'll find tons of articles and websites out there about it. Well, I don't look at that stuff because it bothers me. Well, guess what? Your kid coming home and talking to you and reciting the Second Amendment to you incorrectly, the First Amendment incorrectly, reciting. Let me tell you something. You don't get what damage is being done to your child. And you're fostering it. You're assisting in it. You are an active and compliant accessory to the crime. Why? Because you refuse to educate yourself about what is happening around you. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, there is no forgiveness for that sin. You are, as a parent, have an obligation and a responsibility to maintain and educate your child and to educate yourself about what is being done to them. They are being tortured mentally. And I'm telling you right now, if you fail to get up and take action, that's on you. And there's no forgiveness for it. None. It is child abuse. Mental, emotional, physical, mental child abuse. And it's time somebody called you out on the carpet and said, I've had enough out of you. Do your job as a parent. Pull your kid out of school. Demand that they stop the Common Core standards in your state and fight it tooth and nail. Make that your sole mission. Well, I'm only one person. What can I do? That's what you can do. You can show up at a school board meeting and raise holy hell. You can start going to your state house and demanding that they stop it. No one is even aware that this is going on. Well, they're state standards. They're not national standards. Bunk. That's a lie. This crap is being promulgated by Arne Duncan from the Department of Education, and it is in cooperation and concert with the most outrageous, outlandish, progressive, liberal, Agenda 21, UNESCO, United Nations, Education for the Masses sycophants you can find. The people like Bloomberg and Bill Gates and the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation, they're the ones who are promoting it. The United Nations is promoting it. You don't trust the United Nations to walk your dog. So why do you insist on allowing them to control the mind of your child? The heck kind of a parent are you? Listen, I can cite reams and reams and reams of information, but if you're not willing to stand up and do the right thing for yourself and your kid, then you're hopeless. One of the textbooks that they got is A History of the U.S. by Joy Hakem. It's a comprehensive textbook on American history, and it's universally regarded as having a strong liberal bias. Listen to what some of the people have had to say. Examination of Hakem's material discloses many errors, including errors of fact, of chronology, and terminology, as well as unjustifiable assertions and displays of bias. That's an author and a historian by the name of Alice Wheely. She gave a scathing analysis of this book to the Textbook League, which reviews education material for accuracy. Joy Hakem should not attempt to write about Western history, particularly the history of Europe, because she obviously hasn't had enough training in these subjects. It is a shame that Oxford University Press has let her get away with so many falsehoods and with such extreme exhibition of bias. Your kids are going to be studying this book. It's called The History of Us. A History of Us. The Next Generation Science Standards. Now, by the way, they tell you originally Common Core is only for language, and that it's going to be for math and science, math and language. That's a lie. They're currently working on history and science right now, and they are bending and manipulating your child's mind to do it. The Next Generation Science Standards, a scheme that's been developed by Common Core to force American students to learn a steady stream of controversial propaganda on everything from the history of evolution to largely debunked theories advanced by UN global warming alarmists. Listen to this. Quote, human activities, such as the release of greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels, are major factors in the current rise of Earth's mean surface temperature for global warming. This is the stuff that your kid is being taught. Now, this is despite the fact that for the last 15 years, CO2 released from fossil fuels represents a tiny fraction of the greenhouse gases that are present naturally in the atmosphere. Everyone admits that global warming has actually ceased for the last 20 years. And every nation on Earth, including Australia, who just turned around as a nation and went back to the United Nations and said, no more nonsense out of you, no more mandates. Climate change arguments have been ceased and stopped right here. We're not going to participate in your carbon credit scheme to defraud our population and steal our money. We're done with it. Finished with it. Don't come back here again with another climate change hoax. The whole nation of Australia, people. Every nation in Europe is backing away from it. China won't follow it. India won't follow it. They're the two largest propagators of carbon into the atmosphere. So, but yet your sycophantic president, this treasonous usurper who's not even an American citizen, has defrauded us with a birth certificate, lied to the American people. I can't even begin to go through the scandals of Fast and Furious and the IRS and tons of others. And this guy is bending our nation through unauthorized and unconstitutional mandates through the EPA, which is an extra-constitutional organization in the first place, to manipulate and destroy the United States from the inside. And your kid is being taught that not only is it a good thing, it's acceptable and allowed. The real agenda behind this is real simple. Karl Marx, in the Communist Manifesto, made it very clear. And I'm going to read it to you. Communist government-controlled schooling is essential to achieving the goals of socialism. Let me tell you something. The truth of the matter is they'll tell you this is a state-led program. First of all, in my state, Missouri, there is an actual constitutional prohibition against federal intervention in our schooling. And yet Common Core is exactly that. They have utilized literally billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to bribe the 46 states that have agreed to it. 46 out of 50. All of it with money come out of where? The stimulus. Well, how does that have anything to do with stimulus? That's not stimulating jobs. That's stimulating mind-altering and mind-bending mind control. There's nothing stimulating about it. This has nothing to do with the stimulus package. This doesn't create jobs. $987 billion stolen, misused, misabused, misappropriated, and a lot of it is going to institute Common Core in your state. They're bribing the states by saying, if you want this money, you've got to implement Common Core. And the states are doing it. And then they call it something else. In Missouri, they say, oh, well, it's not a federal program, it's a state-led program. Let me tell you something. That's a bunch of crap. Arne Duncan, this is the same guy, by the way, who's the head of the Department of Education. He is also the guy, for the record, that created a book for distribution to freshmen in high school, back before he was the Department of Education head. And then this book, he's gay. And this book promoted the gay lifestyle to 15-year-old kids to the point where it described how a child could be fisted anally with your fist safely. And at the end of the book, it gave them a list of all the gay bars in the area in which he distributed this manual. Why are you distributing a list of gay bars to 15-year-old kids who don't even have the right to drink for another 6 or 7 years? What kind of insanity is that? This guy runs the Department of Education. You want to hear a couple of the quotes from him? I'll tell you what, this guy should be charged with treason. He quotes former South African President Nelson Mandela, who, by the way, is an admitted communist. The most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world is education. The United States provides over $1 billion annually to partner countries to work on educational reform. Our goal for the coming year will be to work closely with global partners, including UNESCO, to promote quantitative improvements and system strengthening. This is the guy who's running and controlling your child's education. Cradle to career continuum and educational mandates. And I'm telling you, they say, oh, well, wait a second, we have the right to modify the curriculum. That's a lie. Look at the statistics. The companies that own the copyrighted information have declared that under Common Core standards, a state can only change 15% of the curriculum. 15. That means that 85% of the stuff that your child is going to learn is going to be indoctrination. Nothing more, nothing less. And you, as a parent, have abdicated your responsibility because you refuse to sit down and shut off the television set and shut off the sitcom and all the crap that you do and pay attention to what's really happening to your kid. I'm telling you, this is a clarion call to get your crap together. As a parent, this should be your only function, responsibility. It is your duty. It is your obligation. And if you have abdicated it, then you have failed your child, failed your family, your community, your state, and your nation. And I don't care if you think it's too harsh. I'm tired of parents saying, well, I don't know. I don't want to upset those people at the school. I've kept my own kid home today. You know what? You know what he said? I don't want retribution. And I said, well, I'll be the first one to tell your school that if there's retribution, he said, stop right there, Dad. You don't know how retribution can be done. It can be very subtle. They can block me from getting scholarships to a college. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the example. That is the definition of tyranny. When you fear your government to the point where you are afraid to speak out because you may have retribution, what more do you want? The teachers are going to be graded on this. They don't even know. Do you know that the teachers are not even allowed to know what the content of the testing is? It's done on computers. They're not allowed to see it. And they're going to be held accountable for the results. So they're going to teach to the Common Core standard because that's what the testing is going to be. Bill Gates himself said that when this thing is fully aligned, the tests and the teaching will be 100% in alignment. I'm telling you right now, you have absolutely failed your child if you do not stand up and fight this till the bitter end, till death if necessary. Your states are funding it. Your federal government is funding it. They are funding your demise and the indoctrination and the mind-altering manipulation of your child with your money. And they have your absolute compliance in it because you've refused to stand up. You have refused to go to your school board and say, if you implement this, we will tar and feather you and run you out on a rail. We're not going to vote you out. We're going to drag you out. Ladies and gentlemen, the school board in your community belongs to you. And if you are unwilling to stand up and take responsibility for your child's education, that is the one duty you as a parent have. It's not to feed your kid. It's not to give them a warm bed. It's not to make sure they've got a car and an iPhone. It's not to make sure that they are comfortable and happy. Your sole responsibility as a parent is to make sure that your child is what? Protected. And protected from the treasonists and traitors like these people who are trying to indoctrinate your child. And indoctrinate your child to hate you. That's even worse. Their goal is to separate your relationship, to cut the cord, to snip the umbilical cord between the child and the family. And you're allowing it to happen. You're participating, you're assisting, you are cooperative. And cooperation, when you know what the alternatives are, cooperation in the face of guilty knowledge is unacceptable. It is a forbidden position for you to take. I don't care if you're angry about this, that I'm pointing the finger at you. If you're one of the few parents who have actually done something about Common Core, you're separated from this argument. If you're one of the parents who has not done something about it, the fault's on you. And this holds all of its power and all of its pressure and all of its indictment against you. I'm sick of people standing around saying, well, what can I do? There's a million things you can do. You can demand that your school stop promoting it and teaching it. You can insist that your school board revoke and reject it. You can go out there and get a petition together in your own community to submit to your school board that says, we don't want Common Core standards in our schools. You can go to your state house and scream and yell about it. You can fight against the legislation. You can stop the appropriation of money to pay for it. In my home state of Missouri, they didn't even call it Common Core because they knew what the results would be. So they called it something else, MSL or SML or some other garbage name. The truth of the matter is they didn't ask our legislature for approval to institute it. They just did. And now they're coming back to our legislature and saying, well, we need $500 million to fully implement it. And our state legislature says, fully implement what? We don't even know what you're talking about. $500 million bucks. To implement what? The state legislature doesn't even know what Common Core is. I mean, what more proof do you need? When they run it underneath the radar in front of your own state legislature, and then have the nerve, the unmitigated gall to come back and demand money to implement something which they haven't even notified your legislature about. It's shameful. It's disgusting. It's treasonous. In its own small way, locally, communally, it is treason. And you know what? If you as a parent haven't done something about it, then you have committed the worst of all crimes. You have committed self-treason. And I don't care whether you like it or not. Get off the stick and do something. Stop sitting around whining about how everything's going wrong and start taking some concrete action. Do something. Write an article. Put it in your paper. Write to your paper. Do an interview with them. Get in front of your school board. Don't accept their nonsense. Demand change. We're going to take a break. Man, am I fired up about this. If you don't recognize Common Core for what it is, that's because you haven't been willing to take the time to do the homework. And if you haven't been willing to do that, then all of your protestations about how wonderful your children are and how much you love them is a lie. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be right back. Find our articles and our stories and our news on the web. You can find us at americasvoicenow.org. You can find our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You can find our YouTube channel where we post all of our shows up on YouTube in video and audio. You can find that by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Guys, I don't know what, you can go onto our website and download our links where you can have an audio file that you can play back. If you're not willing to sit down and educate yourself and your neighbors and your community about this, hey, listen, I don't know what, I'm wasting my time. My breath is wasted. My research, my time, my effort, it's wasted because you refuse to take the information given to you and do something with it. We'll be right back.